if, okay. Okay.
I had to get that recording on because if people are dropping into the chat box, we want to have that saved.
Right. Okay. So where is everybody from? I'm really curious. We've got a few names that we're not familiar with, so we'd like to know, you know, what corner of the world you're coming from. Okay. Atlanta, Kathy, yes, thank you. Okay. Harrisonburg, right. Okay. Virginia. Okay. Nice weather there, I guess, now. Germany, wonderful. Okay. Sweden, okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, Martin. Hello, Martin. Okay. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. So many different areas. Okay. North Macedonia, thank you. Okay. What else do we have? Cheshire, that would be Connecticut. No. Yeah. Oh, wow. I'm very good. Okay. Bavaria, Germany, Boston, of course. Yes. Hello, Slobodan. Okay. So lots of different areas. Okay. And I'd start with introducing Carrie, which I think is an amazing thing to do. So I'm just going to start by saying that, of course, she's the lady who I have been working together on ILCA with for the past, well, soon it'll be 2 years. And it's been an amazing experience, of course. She's very inspirational, I must say, and she's an amazingly hardworking professional, which I really admire. And she's got this amazing wide scope of everything that's ELT. And I think that's basically what she's going to be talking about, that very wide scope and the journey that she has traveled from the beginnings to where she is now, and maybe even talking about her plans. I don't know what she has planned for us today here, but I know that she's very, very blessed in the way that she speaks about what she's really passionate about, which is anything that's connected to business, to communicating, to language, to coaching. So I think we're on for a very exciting journey today. So Carrie, can I just hand it over to you? And we're all very, very excited to hear what you're going to be talking about. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Gabriella. Thanks so much. I'm going to start screen sharing. 1 second here. Back up a little bit. Okay. Yeah, so today's, I'm going to go ahead and get started right before I start screen sharing. The idea for today, I am going to talk a bit about my own career pivots, but really try to deep dive into the pivots that are available within ELT and also outside of ELT, and dive into those transferable skills that we have as professionals in ELT and where they can map to. So that's the idea. And I see a lot of wonderfully, experienced professionals that are here today. We are going to do, as we go, it's not just going to be me lecturing at you. I want to give time at certain points for you to ask your own self questions, ask and answer questions for yourself as we go along about your own career path and journey and desires, really, and where you're going. And then at the end of it, if there's still time, we can have a discussion. I can answer questions, or we can workshop. If there's anybody that wants us to workshop their career, we could do that as well. So just a little bit about what you're in store for. And here we go. All right. So this is me. I am the co-founder of the International Language Coaching Association. I had planned to say, along with Gabriella Kovacs, but she's already introduced me and herself, but I do want to say a huge thank you for that warm introduction, and also for being my partner in this incredibly ambitious project that we are doing together, as well as thank you to all of the board members that we have and the friends and colleagues that we are collecting as we go every single day. That's truly been one of the most beautiful parts of this project, is all of the people that it's put us in contact with. I think a lot of the people here today know ILCA, but in case you don't know ILCA, usually my role for the Expert 2021 series event is to introduce and plug ILCA. So I'm not going to forget that part today, and I'm going to do it. We are an organization with a mission to bring together and support language professionals from all over the world that are transitioning into or upskilling in language coaching. We provide a series of training courses as well as an online community where we exchange with one another regularly. So we support each other, ideate together, try to problem solve, and that type of thing. So we've got a great suite of courses. We've got cool summer workshops as well to check out. So please go to internationallanguagecoaching.com. And we are also on Facebook and LinkedIn, which is where I'm sure you will have seen this being advertised. And finally, after this, we always put these Expert 2021 events on our YouTube channel. So please do subscribe to it so you won't miss any in the future, as well as other types of fun videos that we post there. So done plugging ILCA. Now going into presenter mode. Let me see here. I'm just going to put that smaller. Okay, so a little bit about me. What you see here, and then I don't expect you to read all this through, but I just want to point out, because this is all about the career pivot. In the upper left-hand corner here, you've got Carrie McKinnon is specialized in executive program direction and implementation. Her leadership experience extends from the United States to Europe and Africa. Carrie creates significant change for the companies and communities. Blah, 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 right? It goes on. Cross-cultural education, soft skills, strategic planning, executive coaching, all of this. The one thing that this doesn't say is anything about ELT, like at all, right? And that's because this is from a profile in a client-facing presentation for my operations, HR management, change management, consulting business that I do. So that one is not at all ELT focused. And that's something that, again, a client might receive about me if they're trying to decide whether or not to work with me. If you move over here to the top right-hand corner, you'll see it's leading with Carrie is an American linguist and entrepreneur specialized in business communication, training, program direction, and content creation in ESL. This one is all ESL focused. It's truly focused on that relevant career experience as a language professional. And that is directly from our ILCA website. And then finally, this one down here in the bottom is kind of my LinkedIn header from LinkedIn. And you see it's got technophile, writer, entrepreneur. Depending on what day of the week you go to my LinkedIn page, you might see something different here. And if you really want to talk about pivoting, this is that those three words. A lot went into me deciding which words were going to go there to represent me, and what it is that my focus on LinkedIn truly is. So all of these things, all of these profiles are absolutely true about me. The terminology that I've learned about myself in the past year is that I'm a multi-passionate creative entrepreneur. So I would say that that is what will explain all of these different interests. And beyond all of this as well, I want to say that I do identify also as a mother. I identify as a writer, and that's creative writing, poetry, short stories, these types of things. I love business in all of its form, whether or not it's in ELT or just any industry of business. And family and community and the beach are three very, very important things to me. So leaving all the career stuff aside, that's about me, who my core is as a person. Let's get into this pivot. When I started out to making this presentation, I decided, okay, I remembered that years ago for my company in Morocco, I had started this little series of Silicon Valley words. So words that were popular at the time, and pivot was one of them. So I decided to pull this up and add it to the presentation. What's interesting about it to me is that none of this is career pivot focused, right? This was really about like how companies can pivot from what they're doing. I think that's interesting because it shows me that at that time, the word pivot to me meant something very different than what it has come to mean to me in the past few years. And in the past few years, my focus has really become on the career pivot. So this is just a quick little Google search of, definitions of what a career pivot is, doubling down on what is working to make a purposeful shift in a new related direction, an intentional, methodical process for nimbly navigating career changes. I love that, nimbly navigating. And then changing something fundamental about your career. This could be the industry you work in, skill sets, role you have to play on a day-to-day basis. So that is what we're talking about here today. This is a little bit of an overview of my career of pivots. I actually drew this little timeline myself, so please do excuse the handwriting. Maybe I should have been a doctor. So in 2006, as my profile on ILCA says, in 2006, I graduated with a degree in applied linguistics. And just the semester before I graduated, I applied at a test prep center in Atlanta, a Kaplan center, and I applied for a teaching role. And I got that job teaching TOEFL, but my boss at the time said, hey, I'm going to retire. Or not retire, she was pivoting, that's interesting. She was going to leave that job in program leadership and become an immigration and human rights lawyer. And she said she needed a successor. She needed someone to come in there and learn how to lead that program from the inside and then take it over when she was accepted into law school. That's exactly what happened. So relatively soon after getting hired, I was being primed to go into education administration, if you will, or ELT management, and I was a program director. That was a really cool experience. I managed a lot of teachers. I was working with international students coming into the States from all over the world, but there became this, this longing, this calling in me to go abroad, really, to join the rest of the world and to not just stay stuck or stay on the same track that I was on, which would have been, promotion and corporate and building that life of the 30s in the United States at that time. So I chose to go abroad. That was a huge pivot for me. And in order to do that, I decided to become an ELT teacher. So I intentionally left ELT management. And I knew that to be a better manager and a better leader and program director eventually, that I needed to better understand what the teachers I managed were going through. So I took a job as an ELT teacher. It was a beautiful year of teaching. And then I was literally recruited back into ELT management. That was a bit of a pivot, still very much in the same career field. But it was into higher education and working, in universities. And so I was doing it a little bit different than that kind of private education that I had been involved with up until that point. And I did that for a few years. It was great. And then I made a huge pivot from being, an employee to becoming an entrepreneur. And in 2013, I had my first experience in entrepreneurship, and I opened a brick and mortar language school called Locus English. The picture that you see to the left there is, it's a funny story. It means a lot to me, and it really epitomizes the pivot for me and in my career, and that huge step to becoming an entrepreneur, because it was, we had a vendor that wanted to give us exclusive rights for distributing a blended e-learning program throughout Morocco. And we had just started the company, and we had agreed to call this international vendor and realized that we didn't have even a telephone or when they asked for our number to call, we didn't even have a business number. We didn't have a business name, anything. So we ran out to the corner store and came back with this phone and set it up and put it on the floor and took that call, and the rest is history. So that picture there is something that really does make me smile. And I went about my way and learned all about being an entrepreneur. And that's when my eyes really started to open to a potential pivot one day outside of ELT, because I saw the range of skills that I had through managing a company, and all of the skills that I needed to develop outside of just, the focus on subjects and skills that are relevant to ELT. So I would say around 2018 to 2019 is where I really started to answer the call to build an online business. And this is a type of pivot because it's moving me from something that's very language focused into this very technology focused, online business focus area. I had been teaching online and consulting also in ELT, but I really felt the call to build an online business. This is around the time that I met Gabriella and was very, very passionate, still am, about language coaching. And we decided to found ILCA. At that point, there was another huge pivot where I relocated back to the United States and have continued to build ILCA, but also pivot outside of ELT for the first time since back in 2006 when I got my degree in it. And so in 2020, I took a role in an organization that has kind of allowed me to explore the transferable skills that I have in technology, in sales, and in operations, as well as many other things, but I would say those are the three big areas. And I'm still doing that as well, in addition to building ILCA and running ILCA. And right now we're 2021, I'm still trying things out, constantly, okay, where is it that my skills can transfer into? What do I have? What's easy for me? Where's my zone of genius? All of these kinds of things are a daily reflection. If you know me well, you already know this about me. So that's about my career. Thank you for listening to that. I'm going to now switch focus, and we're going to talk a little bit about you now. And remember that I had said there's part of this, if you've got a pen and paper and you want to write this down, or if you want to answer one or some of these in the chat box, you can do it there as well. The idea, though, is for you to take this time and reflect a little bit on these questions that are going to follow. So we're just going to start. I'm going to move slowly. We might have some silence moments here, which is always a beautiful thing. So why? Why are you here today? What do you want to accomplish with a career pivot? And I don't expect you to answer every one of these. If you want to, go for it. What is it that you truly want? Are you unsatisfied in your current career? Is there a calling to something different for you? Do you have a dream that you've not yet pursued? All right, and I'll leave this for just a moment and let you all think about that, write it down, think about it a little bit.
Okay, we have an answer. I don't know whether we should share that or not, or wait a bit? What do you think, Carrie? Shall we wait a bit?
Yeah, we got one answer, yeah.
Okay. So we have one answer to the why, I guess, and it's Presa. I don't know whether I'm saying the name correctly or not. I'm sorry, because she's interested to do research in language coaching. So that's a pretty good reason to be here, I guess. So thank you for that. Okay.
Yeah. Language coaching for me, and I see the next one came in from Presa again. I'd like to explore a different technique in language teaching. Language coaching was within ELT is definitely a pivot. I would say if we define pivot as like a changing in focus or a changing from one thing to another, my transformation into a language coach was a huge pivot, because I was a content creator. Like, I was really hardcore about content and materials, and the process for me of identifying as a language coach was really intense. I definitely underwent a change with that. Thank you for asking that question, Shpreza. All right, so this I'll move on. We'll move on to our next slide here. Oh, here we go.
Wait, we've got some. Wait.
Great.
Okay. Shall I read them?
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got Amy. Thank you, Amy, always coming to these. I want to pivot to language coaching because it's an extension of what I already do as a teacher. I want to develop in that direction. So you see it as an extension. I like that. Okay, thank you. And Julie, hello, Julie says, after more than a decade of working one-on-one with clients, I want to get into community building and group course design. I miss the group dynamic. I'm not sure where. I guess it's the what are you unsatisfied with?
Yeah. Again, examples of that calling. I would say definitely community building. That's a kind of smaller pivot that we've made. It's not actually a small pivot for Ilka. It's been a huge shift in focus, actually, to building our community. We had set out initially, we wanted to build a community and we didn't know how. And then finally, when we connected with the tools that we needed to make that vision come to life, our career, our focus and attention has had to shift onto that. So that has represented a type of pivot for us as an organization, although we've not necessarily turned away. We've not at all turned away from what we were doing. We enriched what we were doing with the community.
All right. Okay.
Got a couple more coming in.
Yeah. Kathy says she's a bit of the La Sagrada with all sorts of directions that are quite different from each other, yet all part of the same building. I like that kind of analogy. And Claire saying, hello, Claire. Claire says that my husband just retired. My youngest will be leaving soon. It's time for me, but what to do next? Well, obviously coaching, of course.
I love it. I love it. Very good. Thank you, everyone, for sharing.
Thank you.
We'll like the next, I think the next slide. Yeah, the next slide. All right, we're going to dig deeper into this. If you're still confused, this is all for Claire. Dig deeper, right? So if you're still confused about this, and I want you to, again, let's take this moment, go back into silence and write it down on paper or in the chat, however you want to experience this, and we'll just go through these. So what do you enjoy doing? How much money do you want to make for it? What kind of careers make that kind of money? Relevant questions when considering what to do. Where do you want to live? What we do sometimes impacts, or where we live impacts what we do, and vice versa. What can you do with your eyes closed? What do you need to do to appear attractive to future employers? This is if you're trying to career into a different job. And I'll leave you guys for a moment in silence to ponder that. If anyone wants to drop any answers in the chat box, we'd be more than happy to address them and read them out.
You know, these might be slightly more personal, so if nobody wants to add anything, that's totally okay. But there might be one or two. Okay, Kathy says she enjoys helping others, but result-oriented, in a result-oriented way, I guess. Okay, Slobodan, okay. I love helping learners make a difference in their lives through ELT or soft skills development. Okay. And you're driven by the tangible improvement of people's skills. Yeah, so I'm hearing two things here. And I'll come back to Amy again. I skipped one, sorry. Result-oriented and this tangible thing and development. So it's this very strong coaching strand here, right? And Amy's saying future employers, I want to work for myself. How about future clients?
Oh, absolutely. That needs to be employers / clients. Thank you, Amy. You're so right. You're so right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I ask you, oh, we've got one more coming in with Claire. Love working with young adults and inspiring them. Yeah, me too. I'm experiencing a lot of thoughts around that lately as well, a calling to that as well.
And that's a very good age group, isn't it? Sorry.
Yeah, it is a nice age group.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, Teresa. Okay. Last question. Use individual approach for language learners. Become a language coach. Yeah. Well, of course. Yes. There we are.
Sani, we have an advocate here. We have a language coaching advocate. You need to stay after and talk to us.
Yeah, we'll have a discussion. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the point of this is really this, sometimes people, especially in ELT, we have this ongoing discussion around how much we're paid for what we do. And some people end up getting into this, and myself included, I've been there before, this frustration of, we don't go into language, nobody goes into ELT to get rich, right? This is a saying that is like, we hear it all the time. Nobody goes into it to get rich. Not that everyone's main goal in life is getting rich, but it kind of implies that we're not being paid enough for what we do as language professionals. And that can lead us to thinking about, well, then I'm already locked into this career field, and how do I get out of it? And so this is partly why we're going to address this, how to pivot out of ELT if there's people that are feeling that call based on money, but also what are the options within ELT to enrich what we do. And all of that reflection starts with what you're really good at and what you can do with ease, right? And that's what that question of what can you do with your eyes closed? That's why that's here. What is so easy for you to do that you can do it in your sleep?
Julie has an answer for that. I think. So She added, I enjoy helping people achieve positive and often life-changing transformations, a better job or position, increased confidence, the ability to become a public speaker in English as their target language, etc. Yeah, so this kind of very strong support that I see here.
Yes, Julie, English with Purpose. That's the company name there. All right. Thank you everyone for sharing on that. Oh, Kathy, I can tell people what to do with my eyes closed. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. That's a transferable skill, Kathy. As I'm sure you know, by the way, it's a consulting. All right. So if you're still confused about any of those last questions that were there, or if you find yourself in this place of like, I want to do so many things that I can't figure it out, this is my advice for seeking guidance. This is what I do to try and keep myself not only sane and surviving, but thriving, right? I always like to say I'm not a survivor, I'm a thriver. And these are the things that help me, frankly. Books, podcasts, oh my gosh, podcasts, like anytime I'm interested in some new little area or some new concept, I'll go to my podcast and search it in and find, you know, new tribes all the time. Of course, like mentors and gurus and you know, people that are very prominent in the field that I'm interested in. Definitely those are ones that I'll visit and try to consume content from them. YouTube is amazing for thinking about a career pivot. Like, oh, I don't know, do I, like my latest thing, should I be like a business analyst? Like, I don't know, should I take a course about that? I think I've got some transferable skills there. Well, I can go to YouTube and search in what's it like to be a business analyst, or just even business analyst, and all kinds of really cool things will pop up for me. Job postings, I find, are an excellent way to figure out if something, like if you're thinking about a career change into a certain area that you're feeling a call to, like how relevant is it to the job market? Because there is that whole aspect of us needing to support ourselves. Personality tests. Yeah, I recently got really into taking a lot of different personality tests and then trying to like triangulate results and figure out what my core skills and focus areas were. In the end, I just kind of walked away from it, but it was helpful at the time to understand these things about myself. And then woo, anything that I'm involved in, I've always got to put the woo out there. I have Oracle cards, I'll consult, and I do kind of crazy stuff like that as well, because it helps me to access my own intuition and my own guidance as well. So this is how I seek guidance and guide myself a lot of the times. So, all right, let's talk within ELT Pivot Opportunities. These are some things I've identified as we go along. If you're thinking of an ELT pivot that I've not mentioned, I'm really interested, and I know we've, like I said, we've got some great experience in this room. Please throw it in the chat box, and because I love learning from you guys as well. And oh yeah, what about that? Okay, so from teaching to education administration, from teaching to education leadership. So you might have like program direction, that kind of thing. From teaching students to training teachers. That's a pivot that happens within our field. From teaching to coaching. From employee to entrepreneur. Working for ourselves, working from someone else, for someone else, working for ourselves. From teaching to test prep. Or vice versa, right? Test prep into like just language, general language teaching. From teaching to content creation. Oh, that's it. So what did I leave out? Let's go. Give it to me. Sorry about that. Can anybody? Julie looks thorough. Materials writing. Yeah, content, that's content creation. Yeah, I would say. I'd love to pivot to training teachers, but don't know how since I'm no longer attached to an academic institution. Very interesting. Yeah. Yeah. YouTube star. I love that. Absolutely. Test monitoring. Okay. Anything else in there? Testing. Yeah. Well, I do have the test prep, but yeah, so testing. Yeah, I gotcha. It's interesting when it comes to test preparation and testing, like assessments or whatever. Yeah, it's like this whole other huge branch in our field. And it's rich. There's a lot of places to go within it, if you will. It's if you choose to change your focus to assessments. Research, yes. Amy's asking a question. When you say testing, do you mean creating tests or administering them? I would say any kind of working on like language level assessments within the field. So whether or not, I mean, creating tests, that's a hairy subject because of all the standards setting that have to be done and the big giant tests that are in our field. So I would say administering and preparing students for them. That's a whole industry within ELT. Yeah, good. Okay, marking assessments like writings, absolutely. Yeah.
Sorry, but also, you know, sitting there in the testing panel, you know, just testing students in different whatever.
Yeah. Invigilating, isn't that what that's called?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So that could be also something, because that's also a very specific area, isn't it? So yeah.
Yeah, that's a thing. Okay, Julie's coming in with, here in DC, we have the Center for Applied Linguistics, and they often have positions for experienced teachers to help with test development contracts they have acquired. Interesting. But the pay is bad, of course. Or Amy coming in with being a rater for those tests. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, good, good. So lots of testing things came out. Thank goodness I put the word test on this slide. Good. Thank you everyone again for participating there. Now we're going to get in and we're going to talk a little bit about transferable skills or portable skills. They are non-job specific skills that are both relevant and useful across a range of roles and different industries. Anytime it comes to some kind of a career change or pivot, people are talking about transferable skills. Me, myself, I'm like, what skills can I leverage? What can I leverage? So the thing is that when we talk about transferable skills, a lot of the talk tends to center on, and this definition that we see here, non-job specific skills that are both relevant and useful across a range of roles, might end up being things like, you know, the soft skills of like great communication, leadership, self-starter, self-motivated, right? And if you see my energy change and a kind of sarcasm come out within it, it's because unfortunately those soft skills don't get the jobs now. They're needed, they're important. A lot of the time as language coaches, we end up really, I always say that soft skills, teaching soft skills or training on soft skills is the gateway into language coaching. It's like a gateway drug for language coaching, right? We really tend to end up in language coaching from it. That was definitely my path. But the soft skills, while transferable and important, are not as important to potential employer. Even Amy mentioned she's, forget employers, I want to be, you know, I want to work for myself. There's great tools for working for ourselves these days with Upwork and other websites like that that can facilitate that type of pivot into freelancing and building your business and bringing in clients. But even those, you can't necessarily put on there, I'm a good communicator, right? That's not going to land the client or the contract that you're looking for. So hard skills are something that that is what's going to land the client and the employer that you're looking for. So if we dive into that a little bit, this is 2020. This is it's already outdated, but just to give you guys an idea here of the top 5 soft skills versus top 10 hard skills. This is from LinkedIn. In soft skills, we got creativity, persuasion, collaboration, adaptability, and emotional intelligence. All very important, all very much not getting you a job alone. And then top 10 hard skills: blockchain, cloud computing, analytical reasoning, artificial intelligence, UX design, business analysis, affiliate marketing, sales, scientific computing, and video production. Save for number 3, analytical reasoning, which to me seems a little bit more like a soft skill. Heck, that might even be some kind of technology hard skill that I just don't know about. All the rest of those alone, without any of the soft skills, will get you a job, right? Which is why the hard skills are super important. And I'm not going to talk to you about a career pivot just on your soft skills that you can leverage into across any role, right? So my point with that is that when you are pivoting from ELT to other industries, we do have hard skills in ELT that we can repurpose outside of ELT. So if we look at, we're going to look at that now. So first thing, within ELT, if you've ever worked in education administration, one of the things that I did to pivot outside of ELT was focus in on the kind of operational things that I had done in education administration, HR, program leadership, so like QA, like just an example of this. In my role at an international university that I worked at as the program director, I had to undergo a quality assurance, an entire process for quality assurance for the ELT program. Now, this was done with quality assurance partners that were very professional and established in the field, but they weren't only focused on ELT quality assurance, right? They were quality assurance, it was a quality assurance consulting firm. So for me, I was able to leverage that experience and say, okay, well, I have experience and skills in how to conduct quality assurance for anywhere. That was in QA, they call it QA, is something that is sought after and is important to businesses. So that's an example of what that looks like. From education leadership to business management, any type of management that I've ever done with, and this will impact like hiring and recruitment strategy and those hard skills in terms of interviewing, scheduling, project management. All of those things are, again, more hard skills than soft skills, I would say, that we have experience with in ELT. Another one, training teachers in ELT. So you might be an ELT teacher trainer and you're looking to make a jump outside of ELT, then you could turn into a corporate trainer. So you can leverage your skills in teaching adults. That's something that's very sought after as well. So teaching adults in a corporate context, and draw on that adult learner experience that you've worked with. Also, not just training teachers, training adults in ELT. So adult learning, I think they call that, or adult learning specialist. That's a hard skill, again, that will transfer out of our industry into many other industries. Any company that needs to train its employees basically will be looking for something like that or have opportunities. From ELT entrepreneur to edupreneur. This is interesting. There is a huge opportunity, if you want to talk about technology, in edutech. And it's not just in ELT. It's in K through 12. It's in higher ed. It's everywhere. It's online learning. It's a lot. So in ed tech and edupreneur opportunities. So there's that. And by the way, you don't have to be an ELT entrepreneur necessarily to get involved with ed tech. And that really might also look something like, what was I going to say? LMS, that's it. Yeah, so learning management systems that we work with in ELT. So if you know, I've had roles where part of my role is administering and like adding teachers in, opening units on, doing that kind of thing in LMS. Well, and using like Cambridge LMS, for example, or many other ones. And that's a hard transferable skill into other companies that are also working with learning management systems. That's something you can put on there for hard skills. ELT test prep to K-12 assessment. Now, K-12 assessment is much, much bigger than ELT test prep. And ELT test prep is huge already as an industry. But K-12, for those of you not in the United States, I apologize. It's that like the little kids up until before they're at university. So those primary school years. And in the United States, we've got a massive industry that's completely focused on assessment for those age groups. So anything with test prep, you're going to find hard skills within your test prep experience that you can extract to go for K-12 assessment roles as well and work. Coaching. Right? Let's say you go all along your way and you're this wonderful language coach. You come and train with Ilka. You're with us and you're in our community and all the rest of it. And you're an experienced language coach. And then you want to get into coaching in other languages, other subjects, other areas. That's a coaching, beautifully transferable skill, and vice versa. If you're already a coach and want to get into ELT, that's a great way to do it. Yeah. And then from ELT content creation to instructional design, technical writing, copywriting, editing, these are all really big areas. The written word, if you are an experienced language professional and you have had to work on content, design your own lesson plans, create your own lessons, that is a hard skill, extremely sought after. And this is what it's called outside of ELT and within as well, but this instructional design thing. Yeah. So that's pivoting from ELT to other industries. And that is the end of my presentation. So I think we've got like 10 minutes left. So I can open it up to discussion if you want to drill into anything you saw, or if anything new is coming up, whatever. Don't have an agenda for this part.
Thank you very much, Carrie. I think I can say in the name of everyone who was present that it was a very interesting journey, and you came up with some really interesting insights, which I know I would not have thought of concerning transferable skills, and, you know, just all this thought provocation in a way that you came up with these many different ideas. And yeah, I think we'd like to open up the floor to any comments or any ideas that anyone has connected to this. And while you're thinking of who'd like to say something, it came to my mind that actually I came into coaching from two interesting areas. And if I can relate that, one was, of course, teaching. And I was drawn into training adult language teaching, which was exciting. And the other thing was my passion for everything visual, which was photography. At a time, I really wanted to pursue something in photography, but I pivoted from that because I knew it would take such a long time to actually get into, you know, something that could actually make money, that I decided to transfer those skills. And when I'm creating my slides, I'm very careful of what kind of visual things appear on the screen. So that's where it kind of transfers into. So that's all about me. There's a question here actually that we have. One or two things here. Okay. One or two comments here about, you know, what has been going on. Nice thoughts. Could you tell us a bit about language coaching?
I love this.
Everybody wants to share it.
A PowerPoint designer, a nice niche. Sometimes I feel like I should be a professional. Yeah.
But I love creating, you know, language coaching models and things. And I can spend hours putting together what a certain model or a visual representation of something that I've got on my mind, what it would look like on paper or on the screen rather. So yeah, whenever you see something when I'm presenting and I'm using these, you know, different kind of PPT slides, then all the stuff that goes there, I've worked hours and hours with them. Yeah, okay. So and I love it. So that's when I'm in flow, complete flow. So Csikszentmihalyi knows what I'm talking about. So yeah. Right.
Claire, to answer your question a bit about language coaching, just to say it very succinctly, I would say that, you know, as a language teacher, we always say this, as a language teacher, we are explaining and describing language, right? We're helping our students to learn the language by explaining and describing and providing practice opportunities. And as a language coach, we are building metacognition and awareness around their learning process of the language. All right.
That's very succinct. Yeah. And I think the skills that are the most important in coaching is that we have to be very good listeners, and we have to know how to ask, how to reflect, how to help the learner reflect on their learning journey, and help them plan in a much more, I'd say in a more reflective way, planning in a reflective way, if that makes any sense. So they have to think through, consider a lot of things, and come up with the resources that they have so that they can move forward on their language learning journey. But we're always there to support them, but we're never telling them what to do. That's the most important thing. That's a huge big difference between mentoring and counseling and coaching, is that we never give advice. So that's one of the biggest boundaries that we have. We do not step into that role of telling people what to do, because then that's not coaching. So that's one of the big things here. And we've got the language coaching markers up now on our website. So you have a look at that. So that's been quite a bit of work. So that can help you kind of see what's going on there. Okay.
Amy says that she teaches an adult education now through the public school district in my town, doesn't pay well, and is not highly valued, unfortunately. So Amy, if we take this as kind of like a workshop thing, we'll workshop you for a minute to try to help you find a way out of that. I'm wondering, to me, when I see that, what comes to me is that doesn't pay well and not highly valued is that is maybe a public school issue. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I can tell you what I've done.
Okay.
Because I teach the advanced class, and a lot of the students in my class are already really beyond the level that the program was designed to serve. So what I did in February was I said, you can sign up with me for kind of language sort of training, sort of / coaching, because I'm not really a qualified language coach, but you can sign up for me for free one-on-one sessions for the month of February. So I gave them the opportunity to sign up. And I learned a lot in the process. And one of the students wanted to continue. And so he's just finished his first 3-month package, and he just agreed that he's going to sign up for a second 3-month package. And it's gone great. He was a terrific candidate because, unlike a lot of students who wanted me to spoon feed them everything, he's more ready for what's closer to a coaching model, where he comes in with the problems and I guide him, but I don't prepare a lesson for him. For example, he comes in with what he wants to work on. We go at it for 45 minutes a week, and it's been great. So that's what I want to try to continue and grow. But that's where I'm at now.
Yeah. Okay. That's so it seems to me like you at times run into your ideal client in your role in the public
Right.
system.
And I need, but that was just
conflict.
That's luck, you know. I wasn't looking, I wasn't, you know, sending out any signals. It just, he happened to walk into my classroom.
Yeah. So you are, is what you're saying though, that you'd like more experiences like that, or more clients like that.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have you yet set up a business identity, if you will?
No.
No. Okay. So there's some very functional elements here, like how does he pay you? Right? Is it cash? Is it Venmo? You know, does he just PayPal you?
Yeah, it's PayPal.
PayPal. Okay. Yeah. So if this is all going to go into your focus, like if your real call is to finding other learners like this, be they local or online, which there are opportunities for you to work with people in both of those ways, then you might want to explore taking those steps of maybe creating an LLC, thinking of a name, setting up a type of business identity that lives on a website. It could even be like a one-page website at first, you know, something very simple to take those first baby steps and see what other clients you can get to, and also making it easy for them in the process to understand what your services are and what your value add is. The one thing I was thinking of before though, is there any kind of like conflict? Like, is it a problem for your job if these students study with you outside of the hours that they're with you?
That's something I thought about myself. I have the students in adult education, they come to these classes for free, and it's entirely voluntary. Now, if I were teaching at the lower levels and teaching those students who we really need to get the funding, then I think it would be more of a problem, especially if they stopped coming to the night classes because they were working with me. Now, the students this one student that I'm working with, we have a problem because it's difficult even to justify keeping him in our program because he's already at too high a level. But I'm wondering what's the best way to go about just making sure that that's really not a conflict of interest. Do I need to have that conversation with my director?
I would say, yeah, you could tread lightly with the director, because you also don't want it to be the type of thing you put it on their radar, and then they are like, no. So it's that whole thing of like, better to ask for forgiveness than permission sometimes. But there's ways to kind of feel around in there and explore, I think, with a conversation with them. Another thing that I might, recommend is there a way to work with the organization? So to say, like, I have this capacity to coach these higher level students, and if you let me have the platform, kind of talk to them, market to them, get them into this program for me, then whatever percentage of it I can dedicate back to our program, or something like that. So you could explore a type of reciprocal partnership with them if this is something that's just like ESL adult classes that are outside of that K through 12 public system with that really intense curriculum and all of those things.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Sloboda. Yeah, I hope that's helpful. Anybody else want to workshop anything?
If I can just have this input because most of us are language associated with language, that culture comes naturally with it. And so sometimes you fall into these opportunities that somebody can say, you know, I know she's lived in this country. Let me ask if she can do some cultural training. And that's how I got in. And so that's also another way to widen up the opportunities is the corporate training, usually destination services, that there are many, many of those, and you can work through destination services.
That's a great input. Thank you, Kathy.
Mm-hmm.
And Kathy, you've recently also gotten into like diversity and inclusion training. Is that correct?
Yes. Another way is the assessment, Intercultural Development Inventory, IDI. And it's a pretty intense assessment, but what it does is that it assesses people in their ability to engage in differences. And because of last year with George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter, I was getting calls because companies want to really widen up their DEI. And so just to give this assessment was lucrative.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't qualify myself. I'm interested in DEI, but now with the intercultural training as crossing roads with DEI, I'm not sure about those crossroads for me. I'm more of a culturally based, but what's happened, that field is moving slowly into DEI. And so it's a matter of just self-educating the components of DEI. And that also, it's all related.
Yeah.
And so when we think of when we think of language, culture, diversity, inclusion, equity, it's all related.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, it's a matter, it's a wanting, you know, is that the right fit for me? I guess that's the question.
I love the way that you said it's a way to widen the patch, right? Widen the client base, widen what we're doing, as opposed to just let's focus on ELT. No, it is in this transferable skills.
Exactly.
It's very relevant what someone is experiencing.
Exactly.
Culturally.
Like a lot of times I don't really pay attention to the titles. It's more the skill. You know, what you just mentioned, the transfer of skills. I think we pay too much attention to the title. Yeah. And rather, let's transfer those skills. What are we able to transfer to?
Yeah. Great.
Have these different opportunities.
Sorry, this is interesting that you brought up this thing of titles. There was a very interesting thread in a Facebook group yesterday, about we're all teachers. Why do we have to have this conversation about teacher, trainer, coach? What's the difference? We're all, you know, doing the same thing. And, you know, and I was like, I don't agree with this at all. I think you need completely different skill set. We'd even call them separate professions. So we can't kind of wash them all together. Sorry, I know, Amy, you raised your hand. Sorry. I just wanted to address that.
Yeah, Amy, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I just had a follow-up question for Kathy about the IDI assessment. So did you you got trained to administer the IDI assessment? And is that through the company that makes that assessment? Do they train people to be certified to administer it? Is that how it works?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, you can be licensed. The training is tough. It needs to be tough. And it costs a lot, but they have it from all over the US. I went to Pennsylvania. I'm in Georgia now, but the training was in Pennsylvania. And the website is something like idi.org or something like that. And it was developed by Dr. Mitch Hammer. And he put it all together, and it's amazing.
I'm seeing a couple of things. Amy, make sure you look at the chat box. Julie put something that could be very useful in there about the subject we were talking about before. And I'm envisioning a Kathy Julie event where you two talk about all the rich ways to work with the international community of professionals that are here in the United States, you know, because you two have really, you know, ELT, yes, but like really gone into, so like you both have such a wealth of knowledge about all of the different verticals within that, if you will, with people immigrating into the United States, professionals immigrating here and working in companies and what they're going through. So I challenge you both or invite you.
You see, there's an opportunity right there.
Yeah, there you go.
Great, wonderful. Wonderful. We'll
We
have
can do that. We were private chatting about getting
Really?
together anyway, so while this was going on. So.
Okay, we're offering you a platform.
Who would like to host
Be
part?
wonderful.
Okay.
Great, that's a deal. Good. Okay,
Great. All right. Well, you know, guys, in the spirit of a true pivoter, I've got to get to my day job. So I gotta go.
Okay,
but
I'll stay on with anyone who would like to chat further about. I know that there might be one or two of you who want to stay and just discuss this language coaching thing specifically. So I'm very happy. I must say, Julie, I love your hair.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was something new for me anyway. I haven't seen you for a long time, so thank you all for being here. I think it was really thought-provoking. I think that's the word that comes to my mind, thought-provoking, because everyone has a completely different, you know, idea of what pivoting means, and Carrie brought her own vision of what pivoting is for her. So thank you very much for that. Okay.
absolutely, yeah. And to Claire and Shapressa, if you ladies want to stay on and chat with Gabriella about language coaching and about what we do,
I can stay on a bit, so I'm okay. I'm not pressed for time, but whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you all for coming out to support.
Thank you very much. Okay, bye-bye. Bye. I'll just stay on for a bit if anyone wants to stay on. Okay.